Today we're going to look at some applications. Some applications of trigonometry use an angle of elevation or depression. An angle of elevation is the angle formed by a horizontal line and an observer's line of sight to an object above. An angle of depression is the angle formed by a horizontal line and an observer's line of sight to an object below. So if you take a look at the picture here, here's a guy standing. The angle of elevation is from this horizontal line and then going up, where the angle of depression, if you see, this is a horizontal line and it's looking down, so we're looking at this angle right here. If you remember back from geometry, if you have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, these two angles are going to be the same. So no matter what, if you're talking about angle of elevation and angle of depression, these two angles are always going to be the same. They're going to be equal to each other using those rules from geometry. So with that in mind, let's take a look at example 1. Example 1 says a ground crew worker who is 6 feet tall is directing a plane on a runway. If the worker sights the plane, whose altitude is 150 feet at an angle of elevation of 32 degrees, what is the horizontal distance from the worker to the plane? So the first thing we want to do is we want to get a picture, and you can draw the picture as best as you can. Sometimes the picture will be given to you, and sometimes you'll have to come up with it yourself. So we have a ground crew worker who is 6 feet tall, so let's draw that guy. So here's the ground. Here's our worker, and again, he's 6 feet tall. And he's directing a plane onto a runway. So here's our plane. If the worker sights the plane, whose altitude is 150, so that means the plane is 150 at an angle of elevation of 32 degrees. So this guy's looking at the plane. At 32 degrees. Here's our angle of elevation. And what we want to do is we want to find the horizontal distance. So we want to find x. So we're looking for this distance here, which is the same as the distance here. Now, what we have to take into account is we have a right triangle. So here's our right angle. We have this side, this length, and this side. We know the angle. We're looking for this side. And what we need is this side right here or this side right here, the hypotenuse. Well, we can figure this side out. If you think about it, this little length from here to here is 6. Oops. And if the whole thing is 150, that means we know this side right here is going to be 144. So with that, we can look at, we have an angle of 32 degrees here. We have the opposite and we have the adjacent. So opposite and adjacent is the tangent. So we can set it up that the tangent of 32 degrees is equal to 144, which is the opposite, over the adjacent, which is x, that distance we're trying to find. Then to solve for x, we would have to multiply both sides of the equation by x to get it out of the denominator. So we get x times the tangent of 32 degrees equal to 144. And then to solve for x, all we have to do is divide by the tangent of 32 degrees on both sides. So x is going to be equal to 144 divided by the tangent of 32 degrees. And if you plug that in your calculator, you should get about 200, let's move this over just a little bit, 230.4 feet. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, make sure you're trying things on your calculator. Know that you are in degrees and not in radians. And then you can move on to the try this, which is below. So you can pause it now, unpause it when you're ready to check your answer. If you did the try this correctly, let me just show you the picture really quick so you have it. Here's the ground. Here's your campsite. We have somebody up on top of the mountain. So this right here is 1,500 feet. And we have our angle of depression. So remember, here's, let's say this is our mountain. Here's our guy on our mountain. Here is that horizontal line. So our angle of depression here is 36 degrees, which means our angle in here is going to be 36 degrees. So if we go and set this up, we're looking for that horizontal distance, which is x. So we would have the tangent of 36 degrees equal to 1500 over x. So then if we take 1500, we'd have to divide it by the tangent of 36. You should get x to be about 2,065 feet if you're rounding it to the nearest foot. If you have any questions on that, please let me know.